Okay, we are live. Welcome back to another video. Today we're jumping into our weekly market update for Friday, June the 7th, 2024. As always, if you enjoy the content, you might enjoy my book. So you can grab your free copy of The Rise of Bitcoin in the description below. I have not actually put a link into the live stream description, but I will add it after. So hopefully you can grab that. It's completely free. You're going to get a PDF copy of the book. So go and click the link and grab it now. As always, if you enjoy the content as well, please make sure to smash that thumbs up button. Hit the subscribe button as well. We're on the road to our first 10,000 subscribers, and it would mean the world if you subscribed and hit that bell notification icon so you can get updated every time we drop a new video. We are dropping videos pretty much every single day on the channel, so you're going to want to get notified when they drop so you can hit your crypto goals. Okay, so we're going to jump into our weekly update as usual, and I'm going to share my screen here so that we can go through all of those updates and run through the market. It's been a very exciting week in terms of everything going on in the crypto space, and the market is reflecting that with lots of exciting stuff going on. We're going to be talking about meme coins. We're going to be talking about AI. We're going to be talking about Bitcoin and Ethereum. So let's get this up on the screen so we can bring you through all of the latest updates going on in the space. So as we can see, we are currently sitting at an overall market cap of about 2.63 trillion. That is up on the week since last week. We will look at that chart in a moment. But Bitcoin currently sitting just under 71,000 US dollars. It is up about 6.11% on the week. So we were sitting in the high 60s this time last week, but lots of good sentiment going on with the market, huge inflows from the ETFs, as we will see in a few minutes. And Bitcoin is hovering around that 71,000 US dollar mark. Ethereum is just under 3,800. It is up just over 1.3% on the week. BNB was putting in new all-time highs this week as well. We're currently sitting at $699. It has put a bit of space between its market cap and Solana. Solana currently sitting just under $170. But the gap has widened here between BNB and Solana, with BNB continuing to move upwards and putting in new all-time highs over the past week. As we jump over to look at the overall market cap, as we mentioned, we're currently sitting at about 2.63 trillion US dollars. This time last week, we were sitting just below 2.5 trillion at about 2.49 trillion US dollars. So we are up on the week with more capital flowing into the space from both retail and institutional investors. If we jump over to the top gainers and losers of the last 7-day time frame, what we can see here is a few clear winners. We had Notcoin making big moves over the past week or so. It's up 90%. Jasmy Coin up 40%, Ordi up 30%, Stacks and Caspa up about 25, 27%, Wormhole up 3%, Floki and Injective up about 22 and 20% respectively. Toncoin had another good week. BNB had another good week, up 18%. Pith Network up just under 18%. Filecoin making a move, up over 17% on the week. Ondo continues to see strong growth with the real world asset narrative. It's up 15% on the week. Sui had a strong week as well, up 15% as the new competing layer one in the space. The Sandbox up about 11%, ICP up 8%, Decentraland up 10%. Given Decentraland and Sandbox are making moves, are we seeing more of the metaverse narrative starting to get a bit more traction once again? There were a few losers of the week as well. Definitely more gainers than losers in the top 100 coins over the past week. But BitGet down about 12%, Beam down 9%, Bonk down 7%, Pendle and Arweave down about 6 to 7% as well. Fetch and Maker down about 5 and 4% respectively. Singularity Net down about 3%, Arbitrum down 2%. Dogwoof half and Shiba Inu down just about 1 to 2% as well. And Uniswap around even with the Graph token as well. So lots of moves being made, definitely more gainers than losers over the past week and more capital flowing into the space. But we can see that there is big moves being made by a lot of different protocols. Jumping over to the Bitcoin dominance, what we can see here is Bitcoin dominance is actually up again over the past 7-day period. We did see it kind of bottoming out here around the 54% level around this time last week, and we've bounced up to about 54.7% as of the time of recording here on Friday morning, June 7th. So definitely a bit of a bounce here for Bitcoin in terms of the Bitcoin dominance over the past week. A lot of strong sentiment with the ETF inflows, particularly this week. Saw Tuesday having a massive day. We will look at that in the chart in a moment, but lots of positive sentiment around the ETFs. If we zoom out to the weekly chart, again, we see the positive sentiment continuing here with a very strong uptrend for Bitcoin week over week, all the way since the end of 2022. We've seen a very, very strong uptrend in terms of Bitcoin dominance. It is not altcoin season just yet, but we might see those tides turning in the next few months. However, we do need to see a breakdown with Bitcoin dominance for the altcoin season to really kick into effect. So Bitcoin is continuing this uptrend, no break to this trend line to the downside just yet, and continuing to hold strong with all of that dominance. Moving over to the altcoin season index, we can see that again, because of that Bitcoin dominance continuing to trend upwards, we're seeing that it is more of a Bitcoin strong month than an altcoin month with a score of 35 on the index here. Scrolling down to the top 50 performers over the past month, we can see that the vast majority of everything is in the green over the past month. Bitcoin itself is up 15.4% on the month. We've seen some excellent outperformers here with Toncoin up 262% on the month. Strong with the altcoins here as well. Pepe and Floki up over 80% each. Kaspa and Uniswap up over 40% each as well. So lots of strong performance going on there. Injective is up 36% over the month as well. Link is up 26%. Lots of strong stuff going on with Link and Oracles at the moment. Solana is up 20%. BNB is up just under 20%. WIF is up 16%. And then if we look at the coins that are just below Bitcoin, we've got Sui up about 13%. Tau up 11%, Doge and Shiba up about 11% as well, IMX up 9%, Cardano up about 6%, Arbitrum up about 7%, and ICP up about 5%. On the lower end of the table with the losers, we're seeing Fetch down about 6%. We're seeing HBAR down about 5%, Optimism down about 2%, XLM down about 1.4%, and Tron down about 7% as well. So overall, the picture is shaping up to show top 50 performers are all pretty much in the green over the past month. We did have that correction after Bitcoin put in the all-time highs in March before the halving event. We saw the market go on a little bit of a correction. So most of the alts lost a lot of their gains in that period, but they're starting to recoup some of those gains now, given the performance over the past 4 weeks. Jumping over to the narratives index, and what we can see here is our narratives month-to-date performance for the month of June. So far, we're only 7 days into June, but we can see that the Bitcoin narrative has been the best performing narrative for the month of June thus far. Again, in my opinion, a lot of this due to the amount of capital inflows we're seeing from the ETFs in the past week or so. Real world assets, GameFi, money markets, layer ones, centralized exchanges, layer twos, decentralized physical infrastructure, oracles, dexes, and DeFi 2.0 making up the majority of the best performing narratives month to date. At the end of the table, we've got things like GambleFi, wallets, decentralized science, friend tech, and account abstractions. So it's always worth keeping an eye on the narrative's performance, because the assets that you're holding as part of your portfolio are going to be part of certain narratives, and certain narratives will have different performance cycles throughout the bull market. If we zoom out even further and look at narratives performance year to date, we're seeing that memes are continuing to be the best performing narrative overall year to date. In second place, we've got real world assets. Again, we made a video on Ondo on the channel just last week. You should go and check that out. It's getting a lot of traction, lots of hype around real world assets and asset tokenization. We've got liquid staking derivatives. We've got identity, artificial intelligence, decentralized physical infrastructure, the Bitcoin narrative, account abstractions, and privacy, all being the best performing narratives this year, 2024 to date. So again, keep an eye on the different narratives that your assets are a part of and which assets you are cycling in and out of. Next up, we've got the Bitcoin ETF tracker. And again, big inflows this past week, particularly on Tuesday. Now we're seeing that BlackRock has significantly more holdings in terms of BTC than Grayscale. BlackRock have breached the 302,000 Bitcoin mark. Grayscale are down to about 285,000. Again, if you're not following this too closely, Grayscale had over 600,000 Bitcoin as part of their trust when they transformed into an ETF in January. They have continued to bleed out all that Bitcoin, which has been hoovered up by BlackRock, Fidelity, and the other ETF issuers. We're now sitting with BlackRock with over 300,000, Fidelity with about 100. Then at the bottom of the table, we've got VanEck, Valkyrie, Invesco, Franklin Templeton, Wisdom3, and Hashdex as well. We can see now with all of the Bitcoin ETF holdings, this chart now includes the Grayscale numbers. We've got over 882,000 Bitcoin that is being held by the US ETF issuers alone. So a crazy high number of Bitcoin that has now been purchased and been held by these by the 10 ETF issuers in the US, because these numbers are now including Grayscale here, which is on top. If we go over to the flows, we can see that yesterday was another positive day of inflows. We got 3,035 Bitcoin added to the ETF flows. Again, we did see this bit of a dip here in May, but at the beginning of May, but the second half of May was much stronger, with numbers beginning to increase once again. We can see the daily purchases here very strong in the second half of May. This week, which was not this past week, but the week before, we saw some minor inflows, but then huge spikes this week, with a day where we had over 12,600 of daily Bitcoin purchases. Yesterday was another strong day, and so was Wednesday this week. So overall, a very strong week in terms of Bitcoin ETF inflows. I think Tuesday this week was the second highest inflow day, the second or third highest inflow day since the initiation of the Bitcoin ETFs back in January. So lots of positive sentiment, and we can see this line continuing now to trend upwards once again. So lots of hype, lots of positive sentiment with capital flowing into the ETFs, and hopefully that will continue over the next few weeks. Jumping over to the Bitcoin cycle low multiple. Again, we always bring up this chart just to kind of show where we are in terms of the current era or the current cycle. The different colored lines on this graph represent the performance of Bitcoin in the lead up to and aftermath of each of the previous halving cycles. Day 0 in the middle of the graph here represents the halving date during the course of all those previous eras or cycles. The blue line on the chart represents Bitcoin's performance in the aftermath of the 2012 halving. The orange line represents the performance in the aftermath of the 2016 halving, and the green line representing Bitcoin's performance in the aftermath of the 2020 halving. And then the red line representing our current cycle or current era shows us how we have just come through the halving here in April 2024. And we're seeing this red line continuing to trend ever so slightly upwards. Again, for the first time ever, we did put in all-time highs for Bitcoin prior to the halving, which is the first time that ever happened. But if history is anything to go by, and again, history is not indicative of future performance, but there is a glaring trend here in the graph which shows us parabolic moves for Bitcoin to the upside in the 12 to 18 months after having events occur. So again, if we read between the lines here and think about where this red line is going to go, we're looking at some potential high moves to the upside over the course of the next 12 to 18 months. Again, as always, this is not financial advice, but it is worth observing these trends and how the Bitcoin halving event creates the supply shock that has driven this price upwards movement in the 12 to 18 months after previous Bitcoin halving cycles. Finally, moving on to the real world assets overview. Again, we're hearing a lot of hype around real world assets. We know that BlackRock issued their own fund on Ethereum for tokenization of real world assets. And Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, again, who are now the largest Bitcoin ETF issuer with over 302,000 Bitcoin. Larry Fink is on the record stating that he believes the spot Bitcoin ETFs are somewhat of a stepping stone towards this world where we're going to move towards the tokenization of absolutely everything. And again, we're seeing that happening in real time. Again, we're up over 3% on the week in terms of tokenized US treasuries happening on the blockchain. We're seeing that Ethereum is the chain of choice for most of this real world asset tokenization of tokenized treasuries. So far, we've got Stellar, Solana, and XDC in the mix as well. But tokenized treasuries, up about 3% on the week, up over 1.525 billion. If we look at stable coins, again, we can see that Ethereum is the chain of choice with Tron, Solana, Avalanche, and Arbitrum in the mix here as well. And then commodities, this is a new one here, but we're seeing, again, the tokenization of commodities beginning to happen on chain and lots of stuff going on here. Again, Ethereum, XDC, and Stellar being the main players in this area. So we've got other videos about real world asset tokenization on the channel. We've done videos about different tokens competing in this space. The one about Ondo dropped last week, again, getting lots of traction. So you should definitely check that out. But lots of exciting stuff going on in the world of asset tokenization and real world assets. So that is it. That is our update for the past week in terms of the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency overall market update. As always, if you enjoy the content, please make sure to smash that thumbs up button on your way at the door. Hit that subscribe button as well. It would mean the world as we're on the way to our first 10,000 subscribers. And hit that bell notification icon so you can get notified when new videos drop on the channel. We're dropping videos pretty much every single day. And make sure to grab your free copy of The Rise of Bitcoin. I will leave a link in the description below. It's 100% free. You'll get a PDF copy. It won't be free forever, so make sure to grab it while you can. And as always, we will catch you in the next one.